Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name's Krashy, and today I want to do a commentary feedback post on Predecessor. Now, for Predecessor specifically, I said that weird. For Predecessor specifically, I've actually mostly avoided doing videos like this. I just feel like once you get to a certain realm of voicing feedback, it just comes off whiny, and I did that with Unite, and I was kind of trying to take a slightly different path where if I do one of these, it's going to be, rather infrequently, but I think it's time. I think it's been a bit, and I want to talk about where exactly I am with Predecessor, and actually, I mean, even my life. I've kind of pulled back a lot on content. I don't really stream and post as much, but it's mostly because there's not really much of a return for it with Predecessor specifically. Now, I'm kind of refocusing my life, trying to find a job, and just like going back to being like a normal integrated human in society. So all of that aside, that's partially why I'm not posting. It's not just the game, but I do want to touch a little bit on some of my major issues with Predecessor and where the game is currently. So I'm recording this on the 18th. You might see this today, you might see it tomorrow on the 19th. But the thing with Predecessor is that we have been in early access since December, and that's 7.5 months of early access development. And I think the problem is that we haven't really gotten a whole lot. I mean, now, that's really like an oversimplification of putting it, because we actually have gotten a lot. We've gotten a lot of heroes. There's been major changes to Fangtooth, to the early game and to the levels and all this, like lots and lots and lots and lots of balance. But in terms of actual content and ways to engage the game, we haven't really gotten a lot. And in the early days, it was so easy to grind because there was just so much to play for. There was so much to learn, exploring, getting better, and just putting tons and tons of hours into the game with little to no return, and that was fine. It was fine because there was a lot that you were getting out of that experience, but as the game gets older and as time goes by, that's not entirely true anymore. In fact, it's completely untrue. There's practically no reason to play Predecessor right now, and this is probably the plight of any free-to-play title, is that you have to have systems and rewards and perks and a return for players' time. It's not good enough to just have a game that has great gameplay, and that's almost sad, right? Like, it's almost like from like a societal standpoint, it's like you have to ask your question, well, why are the players like this? And I think the reality is it's just the market. It's the fact that the free-to-play gaming world is so incredibly competitive, with so many developers and studios trying to make the next Fortnite, right? And that's not really what they're all doing. They're a lot of the times they're just trying to make something cool that can live, but they're all trying to make a sustainable, successful game that it is pushed the bar for everyone else, right? It's pushed that bar for everyone else in terms of what the player should expect from that kind of experience. Now, here's the reality. Predecessor is a great game, and it's free. I don't really have to do, well, it's not free yet, but you get the point. It will be free. I don't really have to do much. I got great value out of my bundle, so, if I was to quit the game right now, I got perfect value out of it, and I think the gameplay is phenomenal. So as far as, like, the cost to experience rate, I think I got that. But now we're talking about the cost of my time for the experience rate, and that's not there. There's little to no value there. And so what is the game missing? Well, it's missing things to engage with. It's missing things to grind for. It's missing a return for your time. It's missing content, right? Like, adding a new hero every month is great. Balancing the game is great, but it's definitely not what I think that they should be focusing on at all right now. And ultimately, we need player retention systems. We need something to earn. We need grindable currencies to go after. We need more cosmetics and content to unlock. We need hero mastery systems. We need a ranked mode. All of these things are the absolute necessity for the game to feel good. Now, here's the reality. The game is not out of early access yet, and the game's not free to play. And I have a disconnect in my mind about when we need these things, because it's impossible for me to know when we need these things. So what I'm saying is the game does need these things, but what I'm really saying, look, the game needs it. It does. In order to be successful at any iteration, or really after free-to-play, it needs it. But what I'm saying is, for me to keep playing this game, I need these things. And I might be speaking for you as well, and you might agree with me. In order for me to play this game, I need something. I need something. Now, here's the thing. I have recognized for myself that even without those things, there is a bare minimum, the absolute bare minimum thing that they could give me, and that is good matchmaking. And the game doesn't have that either. And so I can deal with a lot to play a game that I really enjoy if the matches are at least decent, and they're not. They're atrocious. It's some of the worst I've ever played. The matchmaking is bad, and it sucks that it's bad. But you're good players playing with bad players, and you're, new players playing with experienced players. It's just bad. And that's really as simple as I'm going to get into that topic for now. The matchmaking's bad. So, dealing with all of the lack of retention and the absolute zero sum for spending your time on Predecessor, the bare minimum for me would at least be to have like decent matches, and I just don't get those. So what I'm getting at is that I just wish I knew where we were in the timetable. Like, when is free to play or projected? Give me some kind of a loose understanding of it, because the developers are just kind of like, hey, give us time, and hey, like, but how much, right? Like, can you communicate more with me on when should I come back to the game? Like you tell me when the game's going to be good and worth playing. And you know what I mean? Like, you tell me, because I want to play it every day, but you don't offer an experience that's worth playing every day. Your game's not good enough. I'm just going to give it to you straight. The game is just not good enough to play it every day. But it's not good enough to really even come back to, because I've already put a lot of hours in it. And so if the only retention is new heroes, and you can see my activity, you can literally pull up my Ometa City, and you can see that I wasn't playing very much. I'll hop on and play a little bit here and there, a game every few days, and then I took like a 6-day break, and then Greystone came out, and I've been playing a lot since Greystone came out because I really like Greystone, and it's a new hero. So you can bring me back with that for a bit, but then that same frustrations and lack of, there being anything to engage with is going to rise to the surface on top of having bad matchmaking. And so I want more communication from Ometa to tell me what the hell we're doing. Like, tell me free to play is the end of this year, Q4, or tell me free to play is, Q4 2024. Just give me some kind of a timeline so that I can kind of I can realign my expectations and maybe even hold y'all to the fire a little bit. Because then it's like we need to all get back on the same page, right? We need to all get back on the same page, so that way I can have realigned expectations and not be interpreting everything and maybe even being too harsh on y'all. I might even be being too harsh because I don't know what your timeline is. I have no idea when you expect for this game to be out. I have no idea what your budget is in terms of your payroll for X amount of months or X amount of years. I have no idea if you're continuing to hire, because all I know is that you're slow. You're too slow, and if the game was free to play now, the game would be dying. And if the game goes free to play at this current pace of development, the game will die. And that's exactly how I feel, because there's just simply no reason to engage with the game. And, let's build a really hypothetical. Let's say start of Q3, so halfway through 2024, the game has a lot of these systems. It has a ranked mode, it has a bunch of skins, it has a battle pass, it has mastery system. And let's say it's in that state, and you open the floodgates and it's free to play and a bunch of people come in. Let's build another hypothetical on top of that, or let's add to the hypothetical. Let's say 50,000 people are playing, 100,000 people, right? Somewhere in that range. The demand is never going to go away, right? The demand for new features or for changes or fixes to the ranked mode or tweaks to the matchmaking because you have to fine tune it some, those demands are always going to be there because it's a free to play game. That free to play response, that demand for new content, for new features, for fixed updates, for fixed balance, that is always going to be there. And so my fear is that even if we had all those things, if you stay at this pace, you lose people. So the pace is absolutely my biggest concern. My second concern is I have no idea where we are in the timeline, and I can't make a reasonable assessment of what I should be expecting. So maybe I'm being way too harsh, and maybe I'm being exactly as harsh as I should be, because I've lost a lot of faith in Ometa. I don't have any faith in them to finish this project or to get it to a reasonable point, because they're too slow in early access, and this and I don't know why, and I don't understand why. I don't understand if they're still hiring and they're having a hard time hiring. I don't understand if they're budgeted and this is just the speed that they can go because they have their set budget. I don't understand if the UI is such a big undertaking that once they finish it, it's gonna triple the speed of their development, because now they don't have to work on do double the work because of two different UIs. I have no clue, and I just wish I could get in the head of their plans. I wish I could understand what the hell is going on, but all I know is that we were promised a season 2 with a ton of stuff, and when you canceled that to fix UI, and for the sake of saying, I think that's a good decision, but when you canceled that to fix the UI, you absolutely damaged the perception of your workflow and some of the trust over time, because the experience is not getting better. We get new heroes, and that's great. The gameplay is S tier plus, S plus tier. It's phenomenal to play the game. It feels great to play the game. But there hits a certain point where that's just not enough anymore. And I've been there for a while, and I know a lot of people are there, and maybe it's time we just realign, right? Maybe it's time we reassess and set ourselves back on the right path and get ourselves on the same page, so we can say, hey, look, we hear you. Console is planned for end of 2024. Free to play is going to be planned for blah 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 blah. Like, I know that it's a meme and it's really annoying that they say console when, but honestly, it's been 7 months of early access. Maybe you should answer them, right? And it's been 7 months of early access. Maybe you should give us some answers too. Because the question comes down to, why should we trust you anymore? Like, why should I keep playing this game? And you know, you could say, oh, we'll just come back whenever it's ready. But like, can you give me a hint? You know, can you give me some kind of a hint on when that's going to be? Or what you think it's going to be? Even if you don't hit it, right? Like, I'm comfortable with that. I want to get inside your mind a little bit. So I am terribly concerned with Predecessor. If you were to ask me if I think this game has a future or not, I would say no. I don't think this game has much of a future at this current pace, with what I've seen, with the current state of development, with where the game is and how bad the matchmaking has been historically and how slow these updates are. I don't believe that this game has much of a future. So I want to be proven wrong, but I also want to be communicated with. So those are my thoughts. Very doom and gloomy today, but I'm just like kind of sick of dealing with this game. So it is what it is. Friends, thank you so much for watching. Drop a like on the video, and yeah, I'll see you all in the next one.